So wide receivers for week 7 here. I'm going to mention, I'm going to do like I always do and try to get 2 for 1 in here. And I'm going to say the Green Bay wide receivers who didn't get hurt. And that's Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs. Romeo Dobbs coming off the squeaky wheel game. He's only 51% owned. After having the whole, situation last week of, him wanting to be, included in the offense and then, them bro hugging it out and working it all out. He probably should have been in everyone's kind of lineups here this week. I know I started him and pretty sure everywhere that I had him. He goes 3 catches, only 4 targets, but gets 49 yards and 2 touchdowns in this game, playing 74% of the snaps. Interestingly, still the least amount of snaps so far, but that is, of course, with Christian Watson coming back. And then, as the aforementioned, Christian Watson making his return back to the lineup after missing just a game with that ankle injury that looked pretty brutal. So it was nice to see him come back. Again, 3 catches on 4 targets, 68 yards, and that beautiful touchdown catch. He ended up with 15.8 yards, only 42% rostered. I just think, in this offense with this, quarterback, he still can be the number one. Obviously, Jaden Reed looks like he's that guy. A lot of folks thinks that his efficiency isn't attainable. And I just think, the upside for Watson, especially in half and non-PPR leagues, he's just somebody at, 6'4", 200, 8 pounds, someone you look for in the red zone and is pretty fast. So those are my 2. Who else you got at the wide receiver position?
So wide receiver spot, one of my guys that I own a couple leagues here is Josh Downs, man. Josh Downs been holding it down the last couple weeks here. He's had 7 grabs and 66 receiving yards. Hasn't finished fewer than that in the last 2 games. And he scored at 2 out of 3 last outings. And this last week, he ended up going 7 for 9, 66 yards, and 1 touchdown. He even had a rushing attempt, but it was for negative yards. But, 12.5 fantasy points here on this week. And
19.5 in full PPR.
Yeah, Anthony is getting those in there. Yahoo's 48%. ESPN is 49%.
68 on Sleeper, which is why he wasn't on my list, but good call.
Yeah. And
only thing to watch out for, Anthony Richardson coming back. So just buyer
which
beware.
Is crazy. Yeah, it's crazy with that. But I'm hoping that he can, withstand that. I know that Pittman's been struggling. A little slight injury going on with him right now. But Josh Downs, he's been holding it down. So I'm happy to look for him.
Well done, Josh Jones. All right, so I'll go with a name I don't think we've mentioned, but now with the quarterback change, looks like this guy who I drafted actually in several places. I thought he would be semi-relevant in best ball, getting him super late. And that's going to be Pop Douglas, a.k.a. Demario Douglas with the New England Patriots. He had himself a game, only 62% of the snaps, but goes 6 for 9 for 92 yards and a touchdown. So you'd like to see it. And again, this was against the Houston defense, with Drake May. Again, I have to go back and watch this game completely, but I was watching the highlights and seeing things get done over there. Again, the ball's, being moved around. Again, it ended up being 41-21. So it's not like, the final score, I don't think really did it complete justice. But, I think the Patriots did look better, kind of overall. And there were some, a couple points there, like I said, the Houston kind of pulled away late. It felt pretty close there early on. But he could definitely be someone, as you're getting through some bye weeks here. Again, I'm not unloading your fab or anything like that. But just could be a nice bench depth piece if you are looking for a wide receiver. Does get Jacksonville next to, Caleb Williams just carved up, another rookie. And those wide receivers and, the tight end, Evan Ingram, 8. So maybe keep an eye out for Hunter Henry, who we may or may not be mentioning later in the show because of that as well. But go ahead, Frank. Who else you got at the wide receiver position? Only 14% owned in Sleeper, by the way, for Demario Douglas.
Look this guy up here, see what he's got on here. But I was looking at Michael Wilson over here in Arizona. I had just recently picked him up myself here last week. I didn't start him yet, but wanted to have some surety here. He only got 2 for 4 for 21 yards and a touchdown over there. But he's been having 2 nice games as of late. So it's somebody to keep an eye on. Only 16% on Yahoo, 14% ESPN. I'm not sure what is it, 20% Sleeper here. So good numbers, go low numbers. Somebody kind of stash put away. But I like him.
There you go. Well said. Michael Wilson, like you said, that MHJ injury is going to be interesting. So we'll see what happens.
Didn't even think about that one too.
I'll leave this. Yeah, I'll leave this guy for you. I'll go with this other guy here since I've been talking bad on the, you know what I'm talking about. Darius Slayton, man. I've been saying all kind of bad things about the, New York Giants here. But Daniel Jones, like you said, man, when you give him the little props up there in the quarterback position, man, he's been moving this offense. I don't know if it's fool's gold or what's going on over there. And this has been without Malik Neighbors, right? Like he was the wide receiver one when he left out hurt with that concussion, which is a whole other story. Hopefully he's getting better, missing 2 games plus the extra time. He hasn't played since like 2 Thursdays ago. So it's even longer than the 14 days of a regular, 2 weeks missed dealing with that concussion. But in his stead, Slayton has seen 11 targets in the last 2 games. Did better in the previous game against Seattle, 8 for 122 and a touchdown. This week only had 6 catches on those 11 targets for only 57 yards. But still, he was kind of in and out of the lineup. He kept kind of missing a couple plays here and there, getting banged up, twisted up and whatnot, but kept coming out there. Still played 86% of the snaps. Only scored 11.7 points. Kind of that Cincinnati Giants game was kind of a dud. Thought there'd be more offense with those defenses that kind of being quote unquote so bad, but they definitely showed up that night. But Slayton, if Neighbors is to miss another game, he does get Philly next. Pittsburgh might be tough, and then Washington after that. Both of those, are going to be, I think, top 5 in points given up allowed to the wide receiver position. So again, if Neighbors continues to miss at this extended time with this concussion, I think Slayton could be somebody in your PPR leagues that could fill in here for over the next, at least 2 out of the next 3 weeks. And then gets Carolina after that, and then they're bye week 11. So maybe 3 out of the next 4.
Yeah, and I've been spot starting him here in my dynasty league here. I've had him held on to that guy, and I actually had to use him because I had so many injuries and just bye weeks and everything else. He had to go in the lineup, and he did me all right. And I was like, all right, there we go.
There it is. There it is.
Worked out for me.
All right, who do you got next?
Yeah, we'll go ahead and go with my guy. My favorite best ball guy, Alan Lazard here. I mean, going up for the Hail Mary tonight. What a touchdown. He seems to be, again, always getting those looks from Aaron Rodgers there. And, it's not pretty. It's not high volume all the time, but he gets touchdowns. 6 to 7 targets, 114 yards. Along of 52 for a touchdown tonight, 17.4 fantasy points. Let me pull it up on full PPR. It's 23.4 full PPR points for him tonight. And he's like kind of just been there, keeps doing it week in, week out. Literally double digit scoring for the past 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks here. So I mean, definitely you're able to start him. I mean, like, it's not pretty, but he gets it done.
Yeah, I mean, he's what? I want to say he's like what? Wide receiver? Hold on. I don't even want to misquote it. I want to make sure I have it correct here. Wide receiver. Oh, I thought he was doing better. He's wide receiver 27 right now, but compared to, this guy, you got him with your last pick, 18 rounds in best ball, and he's coming back as the wide receiver 27 right now. Like, that's not bad at all. So that's not a bad ROI. So well said there on Alan Lazard. I'm going to go with a guy who, honestly, I didn't even know was playing football prior to this week. With the Chris Olave injury, his concussion, and obviously them playing on Thursday, he will probably not make it for this game. So the guy who benefited most from him being out was Bub Means. He is 0% owned on Sleeper. Like I said, I don't think anybody knows who he is. But with Olave out, he sees 8 targets, gets 5 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. Again, this is with backups Spencer Rattler. So maybe these two have some rapport, man. Playing on the practice squad or something together. Team. Yeah, like often. You never know. Like this kind of stuff, kind of happens this way with when backup quarterbacks come in. They kind of zero in on guys that they're comfortable with. That they know how they run, how fast they run, where they can put the ball, where they like it. So you never know, man. Might be some breakfast club going on. And he might even be startable this week. So like I said, 0% owned on Sleeper, and scored 15.5 points in a full PPR, going again 5 for 8 for 45 and a touchdown. Gets Denver on Thursday, and that's Denver without Pat Surtain. So we saw Denver,
maybe
their
something
defense
happened.
didn't look different. Pat Surtain dealing with the concussion, most
That
likely
sounds
not
like a
in
daily fantasy start right
either.
there.
There you go, man. So check him out. So we'll see what happens there against Denver on Thursday. But he is out there. So if you need someone to start this week, he'll be there. So so there we go. Let's see. The other guys I have are just more like kind of honorable mentions. I don't need to get into it too much. You got Keon Coleman played tonight, didn't do well. He's at 65% owned, so he's right there on that borderline. And then your guy, Jalen Tolbert, 51% owned right now. Didn't have a good week this last week. Nobody in Dallas really did, but I don't think we expect that to be who Dallas is the rest of the year. With Brandon Cook still dealing on the IR with that infection, most likely looking at extended missed time. I think this bye week can maybe help out and let these guys get their stuff together, and Tolbert could make a nice run for you, down the home stretch. So,
and I did want to remind people, just in case they didn't go after, or maybe you guys didn't want to hold on to guys like Juju Smith-Schuster last week because he was on a bye week this week. But if somebody didn't pick him up in your league, I mean, he was widely available, obviously. So you want to kind of remember that this week in case, because he won't be up there in the trending or anything anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
good call. I didn't even have him on there. Good call. 33% owned on sleeper, so he is still out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
he should be definitely up.
Yeah.
Because
at least to see, maybe you don't feel comfortable, throw him in there because it is still Juju Smith-Schuster, but you can't argue with 7 on 8 for 130. No touchdown, but 7 for 130 is pretty nice. So you'll take those 20 points any day. They do get the Niners next. Secondary is banged up a little bit. Little Super Bowl rematch. So we'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. So Juju Smith-Schuster. Well said, Frank. Good one. That's a freaking good one. I can't believe I missed that. I thought I was getting all smart, with Ty Chandler, and missed it for the wide receiver position. So there you go, man. That's where we're a good team here. Good stuff. All right. So anyone else you want to mention here? Any honorable mentions or anything like that at the wide receiver position?
Plenty of wide receivers, which is deep. I mean,
trying to give you guys options.
The Green Bay guys, Watson and Dobbs. So want to keep an eye on those guys. I mean, I think we covered everybody really.
Good stuff.